You'll watch it till the end. You'll know what we're on about. But yeah, this.
Wait, watch it till the end. This is the end, dude. Day one patches.
Right.
A common part of gaming. It's now pretty much an accepted thing that a game will release day one, be a bit rubbish, then it'll patch, then it'll patch, it'll patch, it'll patch, it'll patch. And in reality, you're not actually getting a game as in the full game until 2 years down the line.
It can be very frustrating, especially if you've been looking forward to a game coming out for a very long time, and then it's hyped, and it feels like then they don't deliver on that promise. You know what I mean? It's like, oh well, just take it at this, just take this. We'll sort it out when we can be bothered. Do you get what I mean? Now it's all good. I'm saying, oh, we wait for the community to give us feedback, but at the end of the day, when it comes to certain franchises, like for the Total War, for instance, they by far know now what the community want. You get what I mean? They should have a really good understanding about the community want. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes they go a bit overboard in certain areas, and then that just ruins the game. It ruins the gameplay. It ruins certain parts, certain aspects of what that game is meant to be. You get what I mean? For example, Warhammer 3. Obviously, really looking forward to that game coming out. Been playing it on my channel, but really frustrated when it comes to certain aspects of the game. It's kind of taken away the ability just it's gone too narrative, it's gone too far down that line. It's gone too, especially with the Chaos campaign.
Granted, but that is not an issue with patching. That's just an issue of a game coming out that wasn't, it turned away from what the game is.
Yeah, but this is my point. So my point is, when it comes to, like, say, infantry, cavalry, stuff like that, you know what I mean? Now they're on about patching certain aspects of that. Or stuff like that shouldn't be patched. That stuff like that should be originally in the game anyway. You know what I mean? The only things that should be patched really is maybe a bit of optimization. Do you get what I mean? This and that. Patches shouldn't be changing gameplay. The gameplay should be there right at the beginning. And you know what I mean? What I found when I was playing Warhammer 3 is, you know what I mean? I had, some of the troops were just doing my Sweden, man. They were just rubbish. And I was thinking, come on. And Chaos are way too strong. You know what I mean? That stuff should be...
It's balanced. There's something that should have been gone over multiple times. It's a basic part of the game. And I think a lot of this has come in with the change of the online system, whereas originally games were released, you had to get that right. You could release a patch, but chances are not even everyone would even know it existed, let alone would actually be able to get a hold of it.
You'd have to manually download it. Back in the day, wouldn't it? You'd have to manually download it. Now it just uploads itself. But the fundamentals of the game, when it comes to certain aspects like that, like the infantry, the ability to play the game, should be pretty much the bricks and mortar of the bloody game. That shouldn't have to be patched when it comes out. You know what I mean? That should be sorted. That's it right there. Well, what's the problem now? All right then. Maybe like. There's too much going on the screen, optimize that a bit, you know what I mean? Because that's what's running the performance levels down when it comes to Warhammer 3. It's too much happening. Too many rifts opening, too this, that, you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be that excessive. You know what I mean? Especially with an enemy which is so strong that it doesn't give any human factions or any other factions really a chance to play the game fairly then. So when it comes to patching, like you said, the fundamental pillars should be there in every single game, and I think that's been lost over time, and I think it is frustrating. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to buy a game. You should buy a game day one, all the fundamentals there, and anything that needs to be patched shouldn't be to the point where it's stopping you play the game.
What I
thinking,
think well, so something that I've noticed, not just in the Total War franchise, but also over on multiple FPS games, and I actually think Destiny, which is a bit of a strange one because that's an online game, but that's one of the worst offenders for this. But it does come in others in that when you first buy a game, it's different to the game you have a year later. Like, it is fundamentally a different game. You're not playing the same thing. And sometimes it's for the better. I would argue that actually Dark Souls, the game we talked about previously, actually I don't think that the Xbox version needed too much of an improvement, though optimization when it came to a certain level. Blighttown did need an improvement because that was horrendous. But the PC port basically got an update to fix it, because the PC port was horrendous at the start. But it that one felt like when they patched it, when they've changed things, it was... Yeah, it wasn't as drastic. Whereas when I'm looking particularly at the Total War franchise, and I'm playing day one release Total War Warhammer 2, or even actually, no, let's go Three Kingdoms series. Because that hasn't had as much DLC, that hasn't had as much stuff added to it. So in Three Kingdoms, playing as the Bandit Queen, I can't actually remember her real name, but she plays entirely different. And she was a character that was in the very first set of characters you could play as when the game released, day one. Nothing similar. She was unplayable originally because of her mechanics. On normal difficulty, we were okay, but on higher difficulty, it just didn't work. You shouldn't, like, granted, it's nice to return, but you shouldn't have to return to it. That should have been there to begin with. You should have been playing the game that you are now. The game that it is now should have been the game it was. Yeah, well, that's point there. Patches should just be for optimization and just letting it run a bit smoother. But, patching shouldn't be changing the game mechanics. I mean, even with optimization, I would say, like, Dark Souls is said was a lot of optimization, but I think that also falls foul of there were certain areas in there that should have been playable right at the start.
Yes, but that's what I mean. It's so much patching now, isn't it, with every single game? You know what I mean? It's so much. It's like, for example, I play as well Bannerlord, okay? Now that game has changed so much over the last 2 years, and it's still being patched now today. Beta patches coming up and up and up and up and up.
That one's not out of early access yet, is it?
No, it's not out of early access yet.
That's not a case of patching then. I would not even include that because it's early access.
Yeah, true.
The game isn't out. We don't have day one yet.
I would have truly rather the game come out fully optimized then, I suppose.
Well, it's not even finished, is my point. Like,
no, I know that, but I don't see the point in doing that. You know what I mean? No, that's my point. I don't see the point in doing that.
Early access is definitely an issue. You should be releasing a game, unless you're going to give a considerable discount. It should be there and done. I think early access only comes in if you're giving that massive discount for please come and test our game.
Well, with early access, my issue is this, right? It's like with Bannerlord now, is obviously I've been playing on it now for years now, and when the final game does get released, then it's not going to be much different, really, is it? I've had my experience on Bannerlord. It's not going to be nothing really much new. Do you get what I mean? So it's just going to be the same kind of, because the game can get really repetitive sometimes, because the same thing, doesn't matter what faction you're with, this and that. I do enjoy the battles, etc., this and that on there. But what I'm waiting for is mods for that game. And I can't play mods on that game because obviously it's the mods will work for a certain time, then they stop working. You know what I mean? So I can never really fully appreciate the mods unless the mods have been updated. So my argument there is, you know what I mean, we'll just bloody release the game and let the people do the modding. Just let them do it, you know what I mean? Because the people who mod and change the games in so many aspects, they'll be doing an amazing job, you know what I mean? And they can actually change the fundamentals of a game. and it can actually give you a new experience when it comes to that game, you know?
That is an interesting point, though, when it comes to modding for later patching, in terms of, when you're playing the game for years and years and years. So it doesn't, I still think that's a separate issue to when it comes into day one patches.
I get
a day
what you
one
mean,
patch and a hot fix, that's not something that's going to affect modding, because modding won't exist at that point. It will in the case of Bannerlords, but that's not because the game is out and it's getting a fix, an update. It's because that it's not out yet. That game, strictly speaking, doesn't exist.
So, Tale will, when the game does get released, I don't want no more patching. Do you know what I mean? You have 2 years to do it. Do you get what I mean? So don't. No, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, no, I would say when it comes to early access stuff, it is like, all right, you've actually had 2 years to get this right. People have been playing it and telling you what's wrong. This should work.
Yeah.
But no, I would say when we're on about a title releasing and having a ton of issues with it, not just in forms of optimization, but also you look at games such as the Battlefield. I get this wrong. I always forget it. 2042.
Yep.
I always want to say 21. I don't know why. But I think it's just because it's a better game, and my brain's just like, no, don't look at that one. Look at the good one. But yeah, Battlefield 2042 was fundamentally flawed in terms of how the maps worked, in terms of how the guns work, in terms of how the vehicles work. Everything was wrong in that.
Well,
and they've tried to patch the heck out of it, but it's dead.
Well, that's it. It's technically. They say, the game is being released full, but technically, if you think about it logically, it's still in early access because they're still bloody patching it. So, you know what I mean? They're still working on the game as you're playing on the game. So, and the full game isn't being released technically because they're still patching the game. So, is it full release?
Or is it something I fully agree with? I don't think companies should be allowed to release and patch and charge full price, because if it is a small patch, if we're talking about what they actually are meant to do, which is they released and they overlooked a few older graphics cards or current graphics cards that didn't quite support, what's even on now, DirectX 12 or something, probably 13 at this point.
No, most of it's still on DirectX 11.
Is it still on 11? Oh, darn.
Well, some of it is on DirectX 12. But I think it's still DirectX 12 in some games are still beta.
Yeah, cool. Well, that was my point. Is basically if it's still coming out. Sorry, if they're coming out now and there's finding that there's a few compatibility issues, like we've been working on one, but now we have to go on to the other. That makes sense, and that is the point of the patch. That is oh god, we overlooked something. It shouldn't be a case of you've released the game and it doesn't work.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the case, because then you're not releasing a full game anyhow. You're releasing a game that's not fully complete. So technically, you're getting full price for a game that's not fully complete. So you're not paying for a full game, because like you said earlier, you know what I mean? When the time all these patches enter the game, all these updates enter the game, it's technically changing the fundamentals of that game and it's becoming a different game. You know what I mean? And I think the fundamentals should be there with release, and that's it, really, innit? You know what I mean? Come on, it's not. Yeah, it might be rocket science to me, but these people are trained professionals. You know what I mean? And then it can kind of go back to the fact of, look, they just want to get it out. They just want their money. You know what I mean? And then you know what I mean? They hype it up. No people are gonna buy it. But like I was saying, like 90% of the players now is, there's more people playing on Warhammer 2 now than it is Warhammer 3.
That doesn't really surprise me, but that is entirely due to the Immortal Empires thing.
Yeah.
I think as long as that isn't in, even if Warhammer 3 released perfectly, I still think people would have just been playing Mortal Empires over any campaign.
Yeah, because I never really played on Vortex. I waited for Mortal Empires. Once Mortal Empires was out, I bought the game, so... Yeah, but in patching in general, but what can you do about it? You know what I mean? What can you do about it?
This is the thing. I think consumers are getting savvy about this. I think we've seen it... Well, actually, not so much in these styles of game, like strategy games or even in FPS and MMOs, But looking at live service games, I think more and more people are starting to see they don't want to pay to see if it does stick around. You know, they've made the promise that they're going to bring in all this stuff, but will they?
Well, that's it, then. It's just you're going on a whim then, and now you're thinking, oh, well, I mean, it should be right then. This is a game. Anything else is brought in is just an extra then, for instance. But this is the fundamental game. This is what you're paying your money for. If it's possible, we'd like to bring these things in. If it's possible. Not promise, right, we're going to bring these things in and let the consumers then be disappointed by because these games are not cheap either, you know what I mean? Unless you're, 50, 60 quid a game, like, you know what I mean? And so you go spend out of pocket of 50, 60 pound, and then for something that you might have saved up for, something like that, and then fundamentally, and you ain't getting a full game. I mean, it can ruin future games for that title, because at the end of the day, what if they bring out a Medieval 3 now, say for instance, something like that, and then they make all these promises to these other companies, these other platforms to pay the game on, and then all of a sudden then it's like, nah, you made us that promise with Warhammer 3, we're not taking a chance on Medieval 3 then. You know what I mean? Or people will be like, oh no, I had a bad experience with Warhammer 3, I'm not going to do the same with Medieval 3, even though I want the game really bad. I'm not even going to buy it on day release. I'm just going to see how it goes, and then if time then I want to buy it, I'll buy it. If not, you know what I mean? It loses the excitement then, doesn't it? It loses the ability for consumers to, it loses faith then. They lose faith in the creative, in the franchise, and that's not good for business, is it?
Well, I was just thinking, actually, there's basically, you brought up the point of, is this really affecting the business? That have they made their money? Are they getting away with it? I'm just wondering if there's been a decrease in pre-purchasing. I hadn't really thought of it before, but I know from looking around, personal interaction, it does seem to be decreasing, but then I'm curious on an actual statistical front, like, do the numbers reflect the reality I have seen? Or have I just been hanging around people that just don't like to spend money?
No, but I think you're right, because I think in a lot of our aspects, people know it's just going to get patched. It's just going to get patched. It's just going to get patched. So I'll just wait until it gets patched, and then I'll buy the bloody game. Do you get what I mean?
It's something that we've seen for a very long time, particularly over on Steam, because the sheer quantity of Steam sales has led so many PC gamers to just be like, well, I will wait. I will wait, and I will see when does this come on sale, and then I'll pick it up because I'm going to get it for cheaper. And more importantly, since so many games now are getting multiple patches, not just a simple day one small hotfix, they're getting continued service, even if they're not actually a live service game, to the point where you're probably going to get a better game and for less. Like, it actually buying on day one almost doesn't make sense anymore.
But I think that and that's the point. I think people are catching on to that. I think people are catching on to the how a while ago, you know what I mean, this wouldn't have been so much of an issue, okay? No, but like you said, now because of the online gaming, the ability to patch a game through the internet, this and that. Years ago, people would buy a game on release, and that's the game they would have. That'd be it. No patches, no nothing, this and that. Now, but I think people are getting accustomed now to realize, and there's not actually much point in buying the game on release because it's not going to be ready, and I'm just going to be disappointed. Do you know what I mean? And then even if they think, all right, then I'll do it, then their worries are kind of legitified, thing, because they buy the game, it's not what they thought, and so the next time then it comes around, they're not going to buy it on pre-purchase. They're going to say, no, I'm just going to wait. I'll just watch people on YouTube, I'll just do this, I'll just do that, and I'll just wait then until all the keep an eye on the patches. I'll wait till it's up to patch, and I wait till it's up to my standard that I want to pay the money. But I might as well then, wait for a Steam sale and get it £10-20 cheaper. You know what I mean? On this and that. So it does make sense, and and obviously in certain circumstances, like in your case and my case, the ability to wait for a game as being YouTubers, it can be a bit daunting because you want to catch up on the hype, you know what I mean, this and that. But when it comes to financial.
Really. If it's a game I'm not sure I want, I just don't get it.
Oh, I won't buy a game I'm not sure I want. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But through all the issues that have come from, you know, all these, you know, patching this and that, you know what I mean? Slowly but surely, I'm starting to veer away. You know what I mean? My optimism when it comes to certain games, you know, it's just like, you know, it's just like, maybe it's time to try something new, you know? And
well, I do find it interesting, actually. I was just trying to have a think of, like, what are all the games I've bought recently, either day one or pre-purchase. Pre-purchase, there are two games. It's Warhammer 3, pre-purchase that. I've already played it a ton, and I'm gonna keep playing it a ton. Like, as far as actual cost, you know, dollars per hour goes, yeah, I'm gonna get my money's worth of that out of that game. Yeah. That's not an issue to me. I do think that the state it released in was absolutely horrendous, but we chatted about that at length before in a review anyways, still. But I was trying to think, after that, it's all indie games. It's the Starship Troopers game, which I've played the demo for. I've already looked at what the dev's been showing of, like, you know, since the demo, they've continued to develop it and showcase what they've been doing. All of it looks good, and more importantly, I basically just want that game so I can make Starship Troopers quotes and kill bugs. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. What are the other ones? The other ones are just like, not Battlefleet Gothic. Battle Sector.
Battle Sector, yes.
It's a Warhammer 40k game. It was turn-based strategy. Did what it said on the tin. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you want, isn't it? That's all you want.
The Warhammer game. That Warhammer game. I'm really bad with names. And when it comes to Warhammer and Warhammer 40k, they usually just have Warhammer at the start and then everything else comes after, so they all blend together. Where is this on my list? I love how I actually have a section on Steam dedicated to Warhammer 40k.
The only one I pre-purchased recently was Warhammer 3, that's it. And that was only because I wanted to get my money's worth, because I thought, well, I'm going to be paying, I might as well pay it early just to get the Ogre Kingdoms. You get what I mean? But then I found out that if you bought it within the day, a week after release, you still get them anyway.
I will say something that's actually very underhanded about stuff like that is when they release and within the first few days, there's then a sale. That legitimately annoys me, and I do think companies, if you're going to do that, you need to refund everyone who pre-orders. I don't think Warhammer did that, just to be clear. This is just something I've seen happening before with games, and it has led to people actually refunding the game and then buying it again afterwards because they get it for less.
Yeah.
That was Warhammer Stormground, by the way. Sorry, finally found it in a... Yeah. I have a ton of Warhammer cases. I didn't realize how big that list had gotten. Flippin' heck.
Well, that's it, you know. I mean, the thing is, you don't mind spending your money on something that you're happy to play, you know what I mean? But it's kind of, with patching, it's kind of ruined a lot of aspects of gaming, you know what I mean? I'd rather wait another 6 months than be disappointed in a game, you know what I mean? And then when that 6 months come, I'd rather think, right, then, yeah, it's worth the money. You know what I mean? Especially with PC gaming and that now, you know what I mean? Because I've gone from console gaming, did try a bit of console gaming, but it just didn't work. My PS4 kind of, boom, burnt out on me. I've had it for like 8 years, like. But in a lot of ways, yeah, patching's just, it's getting a bit too ridiculous now, isn't it? It's too ridiculous now. It's too much. It's, you need to, you know, just keep it to a minimum and keep it to the point where it's just changing the bare minimum of a game, and that's things that they generally do miss out on. You know what I mean? A bit of programming here, a bit of programming there, whatever. But you know what I mean? To change, for a patch to change the fundamentals of a game, that's just wrong. Because you're not getting the full game then. You know. This
is kind of one of the things I find very strange about the way patching has kind of, the culture of it has changed over time. Whereas initially patches were predominantly based around, we're going to fix a glitch or horrendous bugs. Thinking back, actually, when I was having a chat with... sorry, just dropped something. I don't know where that went. Go on. I was chatting with kind of Step. He was mentioning how in Total War, I think it was Medieval 2, there was an issue with basically the fortifications. The walls were actually clipping with archers, and it technically was a patch. The dev basically said, this is how you fix it. You go into the files, change this. But they released that to fix an error, an actual error in the game. Whereas with nowadays, it's more like, we're going to nerf this weapon.
Yeah.
What?
We're going to nerf these. We're going to nerf them. Yeah.
Did you not play this beforehand? Surely everyone who'd been in the dev team would have been trying out all the weapons, like, if for no other reason they want to. I think this is what I mean by the culture's changed. When you watch, there's a great documentary, I'll have to put a link into it, for the creation of Diablo. And the team behind Diablo was saying, oh, it's an amazing game. But the team behind it was saying, like, whenever we implemented something new, we'd lose basically a day of work because everyone just played the game. Which, that's how it should be. So when it got to the end, they were like, we knew this was a good game because we played the hell out of it.
Well, that's what they're there to do, isn't it? You know what I mean? They play the game themselves, and their ability then to see things that maybe someone who doesn't play it all the time is their game. Is their purpose to make sure that game is running sweet. Now, little graphical errors in a game, you know what I mean? Sometimes it can be overlooked, it can be missed. You know what I mean? That's fair enough. You know what I mean? Nothing's ever perfect. And then it's up to the community to say, well, why isn't this working? And they can take a look at it, and then they say, right, we got this now to sort out. We found the root reason why. Bang, right, there you are now. So when you're talking to someone now, your both faces then smushing together. You know what I mean? The optimizing. You get what I mean? See, it's just like when you see some of those glitches and their arms are stretching.
When that happens, I mean, with PC it's a little different because you never know about the hardware situation, in which case that is an optimization issue. But when you're looking at, one specific event, like has everyone else had that exact same thing? And I mean, I think it's kind of sad how good Total War is for showing, since it's got 20 odd years of history of just all the different types of errors that have come in. Looking at Rome 2, when they had the really messed up faces. I mean, that was like everyone noticed this. This wasn't just one case of a bad situation. I think, that should have been picked up. 20 seconds.
Full gameplay. Yeah.
Well, it's literally just a few seconds, just, when the team implements a unit. Oh, should we just zoom in on the unit quickly before the battle? That'll be all right. I mean, how else could it have gotten through?
Well, it's just being lazy in some retrospects, isn't it? It's just like trying to get the game out there, isn't it? You know what I mean? Instead of looking... Because little things like that can, change how you look at the game. You know what I mean? If you looking at a player at one of your thing and it looks like Sloth off a Goonies, then you know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, like, you know what I mean? Sort it out, dudes. Like, sort it out, But little things like that, the artwork, you know what I mean? The colours of a game, you know what I mean? It can really draw you into a game, can't it? If you're playing a dull-looking game, you know what I mean? It's not vibrant. It's not. It's not dragging you in. You can get, even regardless of the gameplay might be good. It's a round...
definitely. The aesthetic has a large part in a game. I always think like the aesthetic has ideally one of two positions. Either you never think about it, you never talk about it, you never care about it, but that's because it's doing its job well, so you just don't notice it. Or it's beyond phenomenal, but then chances are they're leaning into like an art style. I think good examples of that are going to be Dishonored. Did it pretty well. Like, that was not the best graphically, but it had a distinct art style and it really leaned into it.
It was made it its own, didn't it? It made it its own. Like, you know what I mean? It's like with the old, like, Total War games, for instance, you got, like, granted.
Sprites.
It's...
You have sprites, and it was amazing. All graphics needs to return to sprites. They are the pinnacle of pixel perfection and the best way to play a game.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like opinion matters, like, but a bright, vibrant game, a dark, soulless game.
Well, I think Dark. I would actually argue Dark's alright, depending on the game. I'd say something like Thief. Thief's very dark, but it works because you're a thief and it's the night. But I would say like muted tones. And I do think particularly sort of your early 2000s FPS third-person shooters really suffered from muted tones. Everything was gray, everything was yellow. It was really boring, and you couldn't tell the games apart. Like, you could be playing any game at that point.
Well, that's it, but some people don't care about that. Some people just want it for the competition, depending on what kind of player you are. But I want to be immersed into the game. I want to look at something and
I will also say this can't be patched out. That's an aesthetic choice.
I understand that. Yeah, I know that. But I suppose it comes down to... I know that can't be patched out.
But, it'll be a bloody impressive patch. Flip it, heck. Like 100
But
gig.
it can be It could be upgraded, couldn't it? You know what I mean? But I suppose, you know what I mean? Because mods do it. Mods can bring out vibrant and colours and stuff like that into a game. Yeah, overhaul mods. Yeah, but still, they still do it. Have an overhaul patch. This game is too dull. I want more colour. Okay? Or, you know what I mean? It's like when you're in, like, when I've been playing on Elden Rings and you're on top of a cliff and you're looking out the round and it's just like, whoa, that looks cool, man. You know what I mean? That's immersive into the game. You know what I mean? You look in as far as the eye can see, and you know you can go to that place. You know what I mean? It's the same when I was playing on Witcher, and you're going through all the forest, and you go on top of a cliff.
Sticking with Elden Ring, because that's receiving just those patches. It's receiving nerf and buff patches, particularly nerf.
Well, I
mean, that's still, it's a solid game. It released well. Yeah. It's actually performs pretty darn well. I haven't seen any glaring problems with it.
I haven't seen no issues with it.
But even that's receiving a lovely, well, not quite day one. It's been a little bit. That is receiving patches for exactly this issue. It's changing the fundamental balance of the game.
Well, that's it, isn't it? But you know what I mean? I haven't really got into the fundamentals of the game yet. I'm still trying to work out the pissing game. So until that comes in, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, will I notice? Because the world is so, how can I explain it? So different, so immersive, so the world changes so much. Would I even notice the fundamental changes to the game? I don't know if I would. I mean, unless you're a hardcore player that plays on something for hours and hours on end, and you can notice every little thing. Someone in my perspective, I don't think I'd even notice.
Oh, that's fair enough. I mean, I will say I have not gone through the patch notes extensively on that one. I just kind of had a brief look through. I'd imagine a lot of it is in reaction to the multiplayer scene, actually, where people have just been, like, breaking the game, essentially.
Yeah.
Which, in that regard, I do think patching is a necessity, because that's trying to make up for players. Humans, we're really awkward. You can make everything work pretty much bang on in a game, and then the second you introduce a player, and it's like, why did you pick up that stone, and why throw it into that one wall, which results in the building collapsing? You know, it's that kind of. We could never figure that out. We could never think of it, and as soon as someone comes in and does it, you're like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, that's it today. It's just like, you know what I mean? If you're like hardcore gamers, like we are, you know what I mean? We take, pride in what we do, and we enjoy what we do, you know what I mean? It's,
yeah, a little too much lately.
Yeah, a little too much, yeah.
The reviews have gone a bit to the side, just playing games.
You know what I mean? I've lost a lot of hours on my channel and stuff like this, because that's just, obviously I put my priorities first, you know what I mean? But this is what I want to do, but when it comes to, I forgot my point now. What was you just saying?
I need to spend more time reviewing.
Reviewing, yeah. Well, that's it. I like to review games. I understand that.
Well, bring this back to that idea of patching actually in terms of reviewing, and this is something I've been considering a lot, actually, particularly in regards to Total War Warhammer 3. I was actually genuinely thinking of doing a proper review for it, and ended up doing the review I did with you, where we just had more of a chat, because I knew, there was a patch the same day, literally that morning there had been a patch. I knew there was a new patch coming out, just came out recently, And I also know there's going to be new patches coming out soon. And they've actually said for the newest patch coming out, it's going to completely change the game.
Yeah.
So what you're really saying is, when I watch a review, I need to look for what day it is. I need to look for what version it is. I need to consider, if you're looking at magazines or you're looking at people over on YouTube, you've basically made them fundamentally pointless.
Well, that's what I mean. You can never put a review. Well, you can, because it's not all games are like.
Well, you can, but you've got 5 days. Yeah. You've got 5 days, and the next patch is out, and now you need to make a new one, mate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like, not all games are that bad. Like, but when you come into like the drastic measures now, like Warhammer 3 are taking, you know what I mean? Because obviously a lot of people aren't happy with that. Yeah, you can't. You can make a review that day of how it is on that day. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean, that video that video tomorrow then or the following day could be completely obsolete because the game has changed altogether and everything that you reviewed has now been fixed. So people are gonna want, oh right, yeah, I know, but I know, you know what I mean. So having the ability to make a review on a game on day one is pretty much non-existent anymore because everything gets patched. You know what I mean?
This is kind of the hilarity of it, because this used to be the exact same argument in regards to Kickstarter. Not Kickstarter, Greenlight. Yeah, Greenlight. And then it was early access. And it's people saying, what's the point in looking at these games so early on because they can change? And now we're talking about full release titles that are going to change rapidly over a fairly short period of time. I mean, just look at how much, what's it called? Cyberpunk 20 whatever. Cyberpunk has changed within a matter of months, and then now at the going on to years mark, it's going to keep developing and keep changing, and you're going to see, actually in that case, I kind of hope, a different game.
Well, that's it. You can't do a true review on it then, can you? You know what I mean? Because the true game hasn't really come out. Technically, that's supposed to sold you.
It makes the game fluid and evolving, but the review is static, and it's like you can still do a review, you can still do a critique, but you always have to timestamp these.
Yeah.
It's essentially like it's more a record. It's more history and archiving what the game was like as the game progresses, which takes games we don't typically consider to be live service games and makes them become it. I'd never considered Total War to be live service until I started looking at the actual business model for Warhammer 2, the business model for Troy, the business model for Three Kingdoms, and it's like, oh wait, no, they're making one game and they're just wanting to build and build and build and keep adding stuff to it and making money off what they add.
Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? It's just kind of fundamentally wrong, isn't it? You know what I mean? Whether they're doing it on purpose, whether it's due to funding, I'm not too sure. It shouldn't be due to funding because they should be bloody loaded. And they should have more than enough money to...
These are AAA companies.
You know what I mean? So these companies are loaded, you know what I mean? They got the money, they got the ability to make these games, they've got the, investors, all this and all that. So it shouldn't be the fact of them financial backing or anything like that. It should be the case of, well, what's going on? What's going wrong? Why? You know what I mean? Because these people, you know what I mean? They're meant to be, but I don't know though, what's going on? I mean, why can't a game just be released, full game release, and that's it? And then if DLC wants to be added, that's another sore subject in time, then fair enough. But you know what I mean, a full game should be released. Sir?
Graphics. I blame the improvements in graphical fidelity as the ultimate, double-edged sword of gaming. Because every time we've seen these advances, we've seen a step back. We've seen something lost from what a game is. Even in the early days of 3D, when they first went to 3D, they lost so much in doing it. And it wasn't until years later they managed to progress and build upon what they had. And unfortunately, now it seems like the technology is moving very, very, very fast. And so we're getting all the losses, but we're not getting those gains because there's not enough time to really get the most out of whatever console it was, or in case of PCs, whatever graphical generation we're on.
Well, that's it today. It's just the technology is getting exponentially more advanced quicker, you know what I mean? So when people are buying like upgraded PCs, this and that, or you know what I mean, within a couple of months something new comes out, you know what I mean, and then they are having to, you know what I mean, patch that then to the new this, that, and it's just, you know, it's just a never-ending cycle. Like, don't get me wrong, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. It's all good having the best graphics on a game, but not every game needs a graphical
really
experience. It really doesn't.
I'm going to be 100% honest, it's very much a joke. I do like sprites, and I think that sprites do look good, but I don't think every game should use sprites. But it doesn't detract at all from older games having sprites. They're still brilliant. You can still go back and play Warcraft and Warcraft 2, which is an insanely balanced game with, fair enough, a few levels that took the royal mick. But overall, the experience was loved by the majority because it was good. They put the effort, they crafted it. And this is what I was saying, bringing in Diablo, you had a team who were genuinely passionate about not just making the game, but playing the game and enjoying it. Whereas nowadays it feels more, it's just a business. They do exactly what's required to get the game released with the minimum amount of input to ensure that we can fix it after. It can be added on later. As long as we've got the hype, as long as we've got the people backing it, we can just keep it going. And I'm glad that we're now starting to see more of a pushback again and again on this. It's unfortunate that it has to be again and again with these AAA titles, but they need to kick up the ass.
That's it. Well, they do. It might not even be the fact of, we'll just give the bare minimum. It might be the fact of they just say, let's release the game as it is, and let's see how the community reacts. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
And turn around and turn around and say, well,
I think they
if
did
they
that.
don't react,
and
if they don't react and they like the game, then we haven't got to spend no more money. But if they don't like the game, then we'll have to back our ideas up a bit, or we'll have to invest a little bit more money. So maybe they just, you know, waiting on the reaction of the community on a release of a game to see whether that's acceptable to that community or not. And I think in a lot of aspects, what they can get away with. If it was acceptable, I don't think they'd do much different. Do you know what I mean? They'll just build on. All right, then we got the foundation. We don't need to add to it.
Can you remember the release of Anthem?
Oh no.
Well, Anthem, worst release I've ever heard of, and it's fascinating. It's one of those few games that I have learned so much about it for the simple reason that everything went wrong up to its release. Teams were built and disbanded, managers were built and disbanded, no one had any idea what the heck the game was or where it was going, and it somehow still got released. I think, just as you said, this is where that began. They released that knowing it sucked, knowing it was terrible, to see if they could get away with it. Because they sunk so much cash in. Yeah, so much cash had been sunk into this sinking ship that was not just sinking, it was at the bottom of the ocean. That thing was dead and buried. Yeah. Marine archaeologists had gone in, checked it out, and said there's nothing of value here.
Yeah.
And instead of just saying, right, it is what it is, let's walk away, let's just, put our money elsewhere. They were just like, yeah, go on, stick it out there, let's see if people still buy it. And they still bloody did.
Yeah, so they made all their money back. So they take a massive loss. Do you know what I mean?
I think they still took a loss on that one, but people still bought it.
You know what I mean? But people still bought it. So you know what I mean? They wouldn't have took a massive loss like they would have then. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of it is to see how the community react. And
I think it's more. I was just gonna say, I think it's more they expected the loss, and were offering it up as an experiment.
Yeah. Well, that's it, and I think. I think the only Total War. I'm not the one to go into forums, this and that, right, and get mixed up into all that crap, right? You know what I mean? I want to do my thing. I want to just play the games, have fun. Mm-hmm. That's my whole philosophy of gaming, okay? Because I don't like getting caught up in the politics. You know what I mean? There's a lot of toxic people out there. You know what I mean? People take it way too far. People would take it way to heart, right? So I just tended to just go with the flow. My opinion on the game, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Okay, your life's not ending, this and that, yeah. And to some people, I understand why it can really affect them when a game comes out, especially to certain people who put their faith and they've built a business you know what I mean, say through YouTube, doing these games, you know what I mean, and their heart and souls into it and stuff like that, so I can see how it can affect them to a certain degree. But I haven't seen like a with a Total War, because I might be wrong, but obviously because I don't get into the fundamentals of that I haven't seen a kickback like Warhammer 3. You know what I mean? People are pissed, man. And I'm sitting there laughing. I'm like, I get frustrated with the game, but
you want to know what I think it is? I genuinely think it is. They brought in the Warhammer community, and I bet Games Workshop was just like, mate, you deal with them. Like, they're happy for it. You take control.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean?
Warhammer community, when they get pissed, they get pissed.
Yeah, and they are pissed, man. They are pissed, and there is, like, you know what I mean. But what I find is it's just like this train reaction, right? It's like I seen Legends of Total War's reaction to the game, right? I sat there and watched it, right? And he was angry, right? And I can understand to his point of view, to the basis that okay, you that's all you do is Warhammer. That's all you do is Total War. You 2 years of your life, and you've come out now, and then you're extremely angry with how it's got released, right? But then what I see then is a trend then of people just feeding off that. Yeah. Yes. And then I'm thinking, I'll use someone else there. I'm not just shut up, man. You know what I mean? I can understand dramatically, you know what I mean? But there's no point. You know what I mean? They just feed off that then, and you know what I mean? And I notice all the toxicity that come to it. Like, you know what I mean, if the guy wants his opinion, let the guy have his opinion. It's a free bloody world. But you don't need to feed off that. You don't need to, you know what I mean? Or start this train. I can understand what...
You need to have your own opinions.
Yeah.
They have theirs, you have yours. That's how the world works.
Yeah.
If you agree with them or disagree with them, that's fine. But chances are you'll disagree on some things and only agree on others. Like, when people are, I find that a great example looking at Legend of Total War, very unhappy with the state of it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad.
Well, that's what I mean.
A terrible release, and I really do hope CA learn from this, because it does seem they've learned from old releases. Like, once more, people comparing this to Rome 2. Rome 2, no. Rome 2 was terrible, okay? That was a broken release. This one still works. It isn't polished. It isn't right.
Yeah.
Things aren't quite meshing how they should. It's all stuff they should have fixed, and it's not an excuse that it's going to get patched in the future, and I do not accept that at all from any company that, we'll fix it later. Yeah. No, you should have fixed that before it bloody well came out. But people saying that this is, like, the worst? No.
Yeah, it's not the worst. But you got to think of it from like other people's perspective right now, right? From mine and your perspective, right? We just don't focus on Warhammer, right? We don't stream like he does. He streams like 6 to 8 hours a day.
Well, I'm saying, like, I understand Legend. Yeah,
but he's gonna pick. Yeah, but he's like kind of like his own worst enemy, because he does it so much. He's picking up on everything. Boom, boom, boom. Stuff that I would miss, stuff that you would miss.
I've completed one campaign, started another, and I can already say officially, like, I don't like the Rift. The Rift sucks.
Yeah.
And particularly Tzeentch. Tzeentch is the worst idea ever. And although I would love to see that patched out, to be honest with you, for the sake of putting up with the fact, I think this should be a harsh lesson learnt by all gamers. They should be forced, developers, to just accept if this is what you released. You can fine tune it, but you can't completely redo it, because that should remain as a testament to how bad this was. It's terrible.
Yeah, well, that's it. And the thing is, like, you know what I mean? But like, everyone's perspective is different. So when I seen his video, and then all of a sudden I was seeing someone else's opinion, I'm like, oh, come on, dudes. I mean, listen, if you froze, God, you were still then. You were really still. Is he froze or what? Am I born him that much or what? Bloody no. No, but I understand completely the fundamentals of a game shouldn't be changed. They should made their bed lie in it then, so to speak, and say like, right, we made a mistake.
I do say this for one reason alone. Rift campaigns, you don't need to finish the Rift. You can just play it as a domination campaign. I do think they should add an option to turn off the Rift.
Someone's modded it and done it.
Yep, exactly. That's the thing. It's been modded. Yeah. People want it. But you made like, when I say they made a bad game, I genuinely just mean the Rift campaign is really bad. Whereas as far as the actual game goes, no, if they expand that map, beautiful. Let me go and dominate the world.
The only thing that I would change is obviously balancing with the troops, this and that, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. It's polishing, refinement.
Yeah, the polishing with the troops, and make cavalry good again, because cavalry, you know.
I was thinking that there are 2 points in that. Yeah, cavalry and collision.
Yeah, you know what I mean? The immersive collision boost, you know what I mean?
I'm reluctant to say they should lay in that bed for them, for the simple reason I am not a developer.
Yeah.
I could imagine those ones will be hard as hell to sort out. Minus Cav. I think Cav's just a case of unit mass.
Oh, will it though?
That's the thing.
Technology today, will it? You know what I mean? We don't understand, see? Like, I can say, I haven't got a clue with development or anything like that. But you know what I mean? You see how far games have come, and you know, some things in some games are like, wow, I can't believe you can do that. You know what I mean? So just having the ability to have a decent clash, surely that can't be, you know what I mean, too difficult. And especially if you use, like, they have the ability to use magic on the map. That's how I look at it. So they have the ability to move, you know, like a burning head across the map, burning people alive. Surely they can get people to clash. You know what I mean? Because do you get what I mean? Because having magic, like flying
you this amazing magic of literally having flames appear from nowhere and sprout forth, and you can't get a guy to go like, huh.
Yeah, exactly. You can get, you know, dragons to fly around the air and breathe fire and burn up, but you can't, you know, you can't get people to clash properly. You know what I mean? I think, well,
in your reality fantasy world.
Yeah, in my reality fantasy world, you know what I mean? I'll go put my tinfoil hat on now, and then we'll all be good. I mean, but but like I say, patching has gone, I don't know. But I try not to get caught up in it. I like talking about it.
I was thinking, actually, the idea we just were talking about, the whole, you know, we're not developers, we don't really know this sort of thing. But what about Alien Colonial Marines? You know, if you ever played Colonial Marines?
Nope.
It's not as bad as everyone says, but it's definitely not a good game. It's just kind of, for me, it was just very mediocre. A fun aesthetic, but a very mediocre game. Well, basically, they found out that one of the big issues in terms of the AI was they just wrote a line of code wrong. And if you go in and change that line of code, it functions way, way better. Still not an amazing game, but it's like literally, you just need to literally go in on yourself, on your save file. Yeah. And just change one line.
Something as simple as that is crazy, see. That's crazy, man. But that's what I mean. People have their own, like I'll watch some, you know, just click through YouTube. Don't get to do it much, like watch people's videos and everything, because just haven't got the time. But if I do, you know, I mean, the baby's sleeping, I'm, you know, I'll click on, and some games, people, you know, will play these certain games, and those games are not for me. You know what I mean? I think, how can you play that? But at the end of the day, is, you know, what you like and what you don't like. You know what I mean? And
yeah, but I mean, I do think as well the genre comes into question, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like in terms of major patches and updates in terms of a visual novel game, outside of, I think one of them had a few patches because there was like a chance that your save file could corrupt. Yeah, visual novels have somehow gotten away with this. What else has gotten away with it? Interestingly, I haven't got that many indie TBS games to have huge game-altering
well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Patches. I've had a few update, actually Battle Sector, going back to that one, that updated, and it brought in experience mechanics. And I was like, I knew this was supposed to be in a mechanic. I was even saying throughout gameplay, why are we getting like little seals. It's all 1 of 40k, so you get the little Emperor's seal things around for each mission we've done, but it does nothing. That doesn't make sense. And of course, it later updates and goes, oh, you now gain additional experience and additional accuracy and additional, I think, damage as well. That should have been in from the very, very beginning, because my playthrough never had that. Whether a unit survived from start to end did not matter to me. But now it's like a genuine change in how you play, because you want your units to survive to ensure they get those bonuses.
Yeah.
I wanted to play that game.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, I wanted to play this game, man.
I know. And I think that's what it is, isn't it? It's just like, why are you getting the fundamentals wrong? Why are you patching it in later? You know what I mean? I think in some cases they think they took on a bit more than they can chew, and they've just
if you've taken on more than you can chew, and if you can't actually release the game in the state it should be, delay it. I would much rather have a delayed game by, I mean, we're talking day 1 patch, so delay it 1 day and release it with that patch.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Just for 1 day, or we found an error, we need to sort this out, it'll be released another day. And this is what I mean. I think like you said now, I think a lot of passion has come out of it. Like, no, don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of these games that I'm quite easily fought when it comes to games. You know what I mean? As long as they got the fundamentals in there, I'm happy enough. You know what I mean? But I can get bored easy, especially when a game loses its challenge. You know what I mean? It is always I'm kind of going towards that era, I suppose, where I've been looking at online games. You know what I mean? Online multiplayer, open world games where, because some of the best gaming experience I ever had was with World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? I loved that game. You know what I mean? And I'd be up stupid o'clock, even with work in the morning, not realizing that I'm up at 2 or 3 o'clock. I'm thinking, oh my god, I gotta go to bed. I'm up in 2 hours for work. and just completely getting lost in the game, like, you know what I mean?
Here's like this sums up our difference in age. I remember having my parents shout at me to go to bed.
Yeah. Oh no, I was a full grown man at this point. Like, this is like
I was in secondary school when that game came out.
13, 14 years ago. And I'd be there and I'd be playing it, and
it's longer than that. 13, 14 years ago. It's longer than that.
But that's when I started, playing. I think it was about from 2011 I started playing, because I was a big console gamer, and I switched into PC, and that's when the switch happened, and then I started playing all these other games and stuff like that. And one of the best experiences I had was World of Warcraft, because of the amount of the immersivity of it. It was an online game, you know what I mean? I asked people questions, they'd help you out, you know what I mean? It was a good community to be in, and it was fun to play, and I enjoyed it. And then I turned my thing then to Total War. Enjoyed that, but the thing is, see, with Total War series is once you've done it one, you know what I mean, you've done it all. And that's why I like Warhammer, because like a lot of people didn't like Warhammer because obviously it turned to fantasy base from historical base, but I like that because it gives you the ability to play with different races, with different troops, with different abilities, this and that. Because when it comes to, like, say, Rome, Attila, all this and all that, even though it was a different country, a different faction, they're pretty much the same blaming troops.
No, I'd argue that one, because I would say you get a big difference in the use of skirmish cav as a focus. You get big use in so skirmish cav if you go into the Middle East, or if you're going down to Egypt, you'll have more chariot based. Like, it does make a genuine difference. And I do think, for me, the issue was never, because I do have my issues with fantasy. I'm happy. I love Warhammer. Warhammer was never an issue for me, but I would love to see them do something like Lord of the Rings, where it's a little less high fantasy in terms of magic. Magic is ludicrously powerful in Lord of the Rings, but it's so sparing. Like, it's really it's the hinge factor. It's that if nothing else was going to change this battle, magic will suddenly let us win. but it was rarely used, so it didn't get
last
ridiculous.
resort, like.
Yeah, anyway, my point is basically I'd love to see something like Lord of the Rings come in where basically you're using fantasy units, but you don't have the ludicrously overpowered characters, you don't have the ludicrously overpowered magic system. And also the units are a little more grounded in that.
Yeah, they are a little bit more grounded, a bit more realistic. You know what I mean? You just can die.
It's a realistic, it's our realistic fantasy world.
It's realistic fantasy world. Look, we've got a name for it. A realistic fantasy world. Look, there we are. My new word.
Coming around full circle.
It though. Yeah. Realistic fantasy world. It's because like Lord of the Rings, I love that. I love all them films. You know what I mean? And those are one of the films like I mentioned earlier. I couldn't watch again. I can watch them over and over again. And you know what I mean? It's just it's just enjoyable. It's enjoyable to watch. But when it comes to obviously the battles and this and that, it is grounded when it comes to the battles. There's nothing too ludicrous in it. There's nothing that you would think, giant eagles and stuff like that. But that ain't ludicrous because you get eagles that are huge now today. You know what I mean? Hundreds of thousands of years ago, they were even bigger. So in that aspect, you know what I mean? There's nothing too ludicrous about it. When it comes to magic, magic's only used as a last resort. And it's only certain people who can carry it, you know what I mean? Like, and there's not a lot of them, is there? They're not abundant. You know what I mean? There's a handful of these,
At least until Sauron's day one patch.
Yeah, until Sauron's day one patch, then Aragorn's running around them with a wand. You know what I mean?
Well, bringing this back to that patch system, just to finish this off, you actually brought up something very interesting there with World of Warcraft coming in. Because thinking back on it, I can't think, because originally there was a real divide between console gamers and PC gamers in the way that they approached games and how they were released and the availability of patches. PC gaming has had the ability to patch for a very long time. Console gaming really, I'm pretty sure it was in the 360 era, but I can't remember too much of it. For me, I'm pretty sure it was more Xbox One, PS4, I would say, is when it became like common. Yeah. That was kind of like, it was a normal part to have an update.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago when console was in. You'd have a full release of a game. And I think that's why a lot of people, but then I think that because it came earlier in PC gaming, I think that's why a lot of games in PC were better than on console, because it was the ability to patch.
There was, but I would also say in those early days, it was used sparingly as well. It's that magic in Lord of the Rings. It was only there if needed. And yes, you would eventually patch it later down the line, inevitably. Typically, that patch was more to make it work and be compatible with newer computers, rather than to make it work with current computers.
Yes,
and actually, because of the popularity of World of Warcraft and the introduction of the MMO market, which exploded in the West, that is really where you start to see patching becoming such a commonplace. Maybe kind of it rubbed off a little on people.
Well, I think a lot to do was complaining, maybe. People just complaining and complaining and complaining. Why can't you do this? Why is my game doing that? Stop doing this. I want this in the game. I want that in the game. Oh, well, we can add it into the game if that's what you want, but it's going to need a patch. Do you get what I mean? So patching is, patching should only, I don't know. So you put it like that, you know what I mean? Because I think people expect too much as well these days, but do they, I suppose? I'm a bit torn. I'm a bit torn.
I think people want too much.
Too much.
But I actually think that expectations have lowered. And I think the reason expectations have lowered is that we are now at the point where people will say, it'll get better later. They'll patch it out. I don't care. That should never be, like, you can accept that. That is the truth. It is the reality. That is not actually, like, a reason. It doesn't excuse the behavior. It's still a poor release, and that practice needs to be removed from the industry.
Well, that's it, because at the end of the day, people are going to lose faith in it, and a lot of the games they love. Yeah, well, yeah.
There is no faith in day one release.
No more, no. I mean, I've learned that over my years. But then I try not to then hype myself up for it, you know what I mean? I kind of think like, oh well, if I can wait, like wait. As long as I'm enjoying the game, I'm happy. I try not to look at the itty little bits in the game, you know what I mean? As long as it runs smoothly, I'm having fun. That's how I try to perceive gaming now. That's just why like people say to me, "Oh, go on the forums and stuff like this." Why are you on the? I don't want to go on the forums. I'm not interested about going on the forums. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's not my cup of tea. You know what I mean? I don't want to go in there listen to people, complaining all the time. You know what I mean? And this or that, this should change, that should change. You know what I mean?
I would say if you're going onto forums, for me, do have a look, but have a look for like people who can fix stuff. Like people who've said, okay, there's an issue with the controller, but here's a workaround. Like that's an amazing thing to find on a forum.
Yeah,
there is a lot of just bitching and moaning, and it's like, mate, shut up.
Just you know what I mean?
Be happy you have a game and you can play it. Like,
yeah, well that's it, then. And I think, am I disappointed in Warhammer 3's release, even though I was looking forward to it? Yeah, but is it going to ruin my life? No. Is it? Do you know what I mean?
I think that has become a big thing, is investment. And I think it's people talk about hype, and I think what they actually mean is investment in product. And you should never be invested in a product.
Never, I'm not invested in it.
If it comes out and it sucks, you're just like, that sucks.
Yeah, well, my life goes on. My life goes on, and I'm sure they'll get better. I'll just let everyone deal with the moaning, and I'll just pick it up as it goes along, and I'll just do what I can, enjoy the game. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those things, innit? And if I, like I say, I'm gonna start streaming it again. I that's all I want to do with it, is I want to complete one Rift campaign. I want to do it at least once.
My little words of advice, having completed it, Zinch, if you can, do it straight away. Do it the first one. Yeah. Because there's actually a system on it where the AI will automatically teleport to the end. So
I've heard about that. Yeah, you got to go through different confusion, but they know exactly where they go.
Yep. Yeah. I'd recommend doing that at turn 30. Don't even bother trying to do the legendary stuff, because I got messed over on that. But that's the only one I'd say. The rest of them are actually very, very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I never really, and the thing is here as well, like, it's learning the new troops, but I'm going to do it as Cathay, because I really enjoyed playing them last time. At the end of the day, and I just wait. Then I'll just plod along with that, try out a couple of different factions. But once I completed
suppose here's the big question: will you do it patch 1.1?
That's coming out in April, eh?
Are you gonna wait until the patch, or are you gonna complete the game now and complete the new game after?
Well, I'll just do both, and it's not the end of the world. Like, I'll do what I could do is I'll just do it, and then once I do it again, if it's better, it's better. If it's not, it's not. It's just play the game, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm killing demons, and but a lot of it is to get used to the game as well. You know what I mean? I try and take it as a learning curve, so I try and take the positives out of the negative. So, but then I think to myself, you try to learn the units now, but then they'll get patched. And then they'll all be bloody different again. Then you have to learn all the units again. It's like in Warhammer 2, you know what I mean? You know what units to take to what enemy. You know what units to fight what enemy, okay? Some might be a bit confusing here and there, but you got the basics, you know what I mean? If you're the high elves, you know what I mean? You concentrate on archery because that's their power. You know what I mean? If you're the Empire, you know what I mean?
I'm glad you brought that in, because that is something I feel has actually been lost greatly from the Total War franchise. And it's something I never really understood until recently, because you'd see it a lot on World of Warcraft. People would talk about classes, being saying, oh, this class is amazing, these skills are amazing in PvP, you've got to use them. And then a new patch would come up and everyone would sit and complain about how they ruined the class, how they destroyed the technique or whatever you were doing. I honestly, at the time, just was like, mate, it's a game, I don't care. But no, in Total War, I actually totally agree. I find it's pointless now trying to learn the game, and that's the reason why I never bother min-maxing. Whereas with things like Medieval 2, or even Medieval Original, that's no longer patched. You can actually play that and learn it and really master the systems, whereas nowadays, it's going to change in like a month.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Just play it, mate. It's fine.
just play it for what it is, and then just, you know what I mean, over time, you know what I mean, oh, something else is coming, oh, that's good, oh, I like that, you know what I mean? But as time is progressing, then it's kind of like, well,
which would be fine in a multiplayer game in terms of like they introduce a new, let's say they go into Counter-Strike and they introduce a new weapon, or they introduce like a new class, a new character into World of Warcraft for PvP. That will completely change things, but I can kind of get behind it because it's an online game. They want to add something. Yeah. You just have to learn how that fits into the rest of them. Whereas with this one, it's more. It's like you're literally relearning a game, and a strategy game, a game designed around being learned, a style of gameplay which requires you literally, if you're going to be great at it, to know this unit at this condition working, like, I don't know, great swords running downhill will take out this line of spears, but on a flat plane they won't.
Yeah.
That's one example of something you'd need to learn for 50 plus units to know how to like work against as one faction against the others. I can't be bothered to put that effort in if they're just going to change it every week.
I know what you mean, yeah. No, I can't be bothered to put that effort in when I'm playing the game funny, but and this whole thing, like, because my memory is terrible, so even if I did remember it, so I just pick up on like the fundamentals of like, well, was the strongest units in the game for each faction, was their strongest area then, you know what I mean? Like, say for instance, dwarves and the Empire is their artillery, you know, because the units are crap. Not all of the units, but the infantry are not the best. But you know what I mean? If you can thin out the enemy infantry, especially when it comes to chaos and that, the great swords then do have a chance. You know what I mean? To stand their ground and stuff like this. Like, you know, Bretonian is the cavalry. You know what I mean? So I try and narrow it down to what is best for each faction, and then try and learn then the strongest bits of that. That's how I found
like the cliff notes.
Yeah. So it's like the high elves. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't mind having an army full of Sisters of Avalon.
I really don't think they're that good.
Yeah, but it's not, no, but they're decent in melee, see, because what you look at is the melee.
Very strong units, but I mean, this is purely from playing on Legendary. They're so expensive, and by the time you get them, by the time you get them, either you're so far into the game it doesn't matter, at which point I could be running around with dragons for all I care. Or it's so early in the game that, hey, I can't afford that. I can afford like 2 units. Why would I afford 2 units when I could just build like an entire army of spears and light archers? Or even not even light archers, basic archers.
But then I also like an army of, you know, but I use them for different roles then. So if I'm like got like the high elves, I'll have a few spear units in them, but the only job them spears are for is to hold the line while the archers do the work. Do you get what I mean? And it's the same with the dwarfs, and you know, and it's the same with a lot of other.
Your job is to stand there and die. Do not let the enemy past you. If you do, I'll kill you myself.
But then I don't believe that doom stacking is fun in a game. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people have come onto my stream to say, "Well, why haven't you spammed skellies?"
I can't afford it.
Because I did one kind of but they're free. Yeah, I know, but there's no fun then, is it? You know what I mean? I just got to.
Oh no! If you're on about with them, that's harder. That's play lazy. Yeah. Play lazy, people.
Yeah.
That's actually harder to do because you need to micromanagement the hell out of your lord.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just build like a half decent army, which is less effort and easier to maintain, you don't need to try as much at all when it comes to the combat. Play lazy.
Yeah, well, that's it, innit? Because your infantry are doing the job. Everyone got a job to do. That's how I like to play. And that's why I think they should make cavalry great again, you know what I mean? Because the cavalry in any kind of combat is bloody and a necessity. You know
I'm just imagining the hat, make cavalry great again.
I'm gonna get one, make cavalry
I'll tell you
great
what,
again.
Total War, the actual, I don't know if it is anymore, but the old symbol was on the horse. That's the hint, that's all you need, nothing special.
Make cavalry bloody good again, because it's a necessity in every kind of war that's been lived on. You know what I mean? Cavalry are battle winners. You know what I mean? They're fast. They're good. You know what I mean? And when you got like people on demigriff knights, they're so cool. I mean, you want them in your army, but they're not that good, and you're disappointed because you're thinking, I want these bloody big, massive beasts. They look cool as hell. You know what I mean? I want them smashing into the back of greenskins, and I want them to do some bloody damage. You know what I mean? Because they're beastly, but they, you know what I mean? And it's disappointing how they work. You know, so I like variety of that in my army. You know what I mean? I like to have the people at the front. I like to have the archers. I like to have the cavalry.
We'd have never met if they didn't have demigriffs.
Oh, with my demigriff knights video.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah, that's right, Di. That's how we met, Di. From my remember, I just picked loads of demigriffs, didn't I? I was just marching up, and yeah.
There you go. That's why you got to make cavalry great again. Like Bear and Frosty.
Cavalry. We should do it. Make cavalry great again. Yeah. You should put this as a title. Make cavalry great again. You'll watch it till the end. You'll know what we're on about. But yeah, this.
Wait. Watch it till the end. This is the end, dude. That's like a bit after the fact.
Put it in the put it in the title. But what you watch till the end, and you'll see what we mean. Yeah. But yeah, it is frustrating, you know, and you know, but you know, it is what it is, you know, and what can you do now?
It is what it is, but it doesn't have to be. I think that's the issue.
No, it doesn't have to be. No.
So much of gaming over the last, you know what, 20. At least 22 years, if not more. I'm trying to think games back in like the 1990s. No, they were interesting back then. A lot of rubbish ones, but the ones that did good because they were new, intriguing, independent projects.
Well, you know what I mean? It's just going to get exponentially bloody worse as well as time goes on, isn't it? You know what I mean? So we need to take a stand now, and like they say, they do it now, so they think, oh, well, let's not make this stupid idea now, you know what I mean? And I think in a lot of aspects, you know, they really peed off the piss in the Warhammer community. And I think they're having a lot of backlash for it, and I'm glad. Good.
I think, yeah, with the introduction of, well, I say not the introduction, like the exposure that Total War Warhammer 2 particularly gained, gaining so many fans into the franchise. You've now you've gained a larger audience, but you've also ticked off a larger audience, which is also not helped by how Three Kingdoms came in and the way that was departed.
Oh, bloody
but on the note of updates, here's our update 2.1. I think that is the end. We've gone lovely off topic at the end. That was actually quite nice.
Yeah, we always do it though. You'll get used to it.
It's inevitable. I swear, eventually we will shut up about Total War, but it is the topic of the day in the strategy gaming community.
I'll let you know what my Elden Ring goes. Well, having a nervous breakdown online.
Go on though, I'll say just at the end here, go on, what will you be doing next week? I think we should get into that habit again of saying what's going on, what's coming up.
Pretty much, that's all I'm doing now. Is I broke my streams up into a couple of hours a piece so I can get more streams out there. So I'll be doing Elden Rings and Bannerlord. Pretty much, well, not every day, but most days. And slowly but surely, I will be doing Warhammer 3 again as well, because I do want to complete at least one Rift campaign. What about you?
Well, no, I'm finishing Ogres on stream, finishing Rome 2 eventually. That one's dragging on. Rome. It's that Rise of Rome deal.
Yeah.
Here's a little thing. If you've never played any of the expansions or DLCs for Total War games, just don't. Get Fall of the Samurai. Yeah. You're good. You're golden. That's the best one. But go on, finishing those off on stream, and then I've actually been playing a lot of different games lately. Some puzzle games, Dreadrock, and currently working on a review for a turn-based card game. But yeah, just working on some more reviews for some more variety.
Is that the one you were playing on earlier?
Or earlier today? Yeah, I've been playing on Dreadrock. I was playing on Dreadrock because I'm on like floor 60 something, and then there's only like 100, so I'm like, finish this finally. But then the other one is, I've been playing this card game, and oh my days, it's just reminded me how much I miss card games.
Yeah.
Go on, we'll have to call that there, because leave it over time, and I need to go to bed soon.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'm going to start my day.
Rock and roll. Go on, so everyone else, thanks for watching in. Peace out.
Take it easy, guys. Stay safe and keep it frosty.